So last Friday, I released my first video here on YouTube entitled Worlds Beyond Words. This was a fun project I did with my good friend Natalie before she went to Korea to study abroad. She is an avid reader and an incredible writer, and we wanted to get together to do a photo shoot, but I also came up with this short video idea. There isn't a massive narrative to this video, right? You're not really being sold anything, you're not being told much of anything. It was just Natalie going out into a field and having some fun reading. I wanted the opportunity to give her a great photo shoot, but I also wanted to practice some color grading and kind of use this as a template to walk through my process when I do video work. One other thing I'll say is that I want to do something a little different with these videos, because when professionals and masters do their breakdowns, they explain what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they explain more of the principle of what they do rather than the program. That's a really big thing to me. I don't care what program, I probably just hit the lapel there. I don't care what program you're using, as long as you take some principles and some fundamentals away, then I'm happy. At the end of the day, I really love to teach and I love to coach, and that's all that matters to me. But what I want to do a little differently is, in the process of breaking the video down here, I want to openly correct some things that I did wrong. I'm gonna make this kind of a running series on YouTube, and I'll talk through some of the things that, again, just didn't go maybe the way I was hoping, or in hindsight, maybe I would have done something different if I had more time or more lighting or more resources, or whatever the case might be. So we're gonna break this video down together, but I'm literally going to probably change things in real time, and we're gonna see if it comes out better or worse, because at the end of the day, one thing that's so cool about capturing all your own content is not just releasing it for others to see, but you get to go back and get bothered by your administrative assistant who did not know you were filming a YouTube video. Let me take this quick. Hey, I'm right in the middle of recording a video, and you're actually gonna hear this in the video because I'm gonna keep it in. Can I call you back a little later? Slay, I'll talk to you. So what's really cool about recording your content, I definitely was not just interrupted, is you get an opportunity to go back and kind of use YouTube or Instagram as a time capsule and a vault, right? To see what you've learned along the way. And so I think it'd be really cool to do that here in real time. I am by no means a master. I am not a colorist, and I already have some ideas as to what I want to do differently here. So without further ado, let's get into the breakdown of Worlds Beyond Words. So to give you guys some context as to how we did the video, since Nat was leaving, we only had an hour to do this a couple of days before she got on a plane and flew 18 hours to Korea. So we shot this by a local field and park near our church. We shot right around or a little bit before golden hour because we wanted to maximize and capitalize on as much sun as we could. Really bare bones setup, no audio other than my internal mic on my camera, which is the Sony FX3. One lens, the G Master 50mm 1.2, and then my variable ND filter on the front, which is made by Freewell. Other than that, standard Sony batteries, no magic, no tripods, no gimbal, no nothing, just one camera, one lens, and a battery, and that's it. So without further ado, let's jump into the audio breakdown of Worlds Beyond Words. Alrighty, y'all, so we're here in DaVinci Resolve. This is my timeline. Not a lot going on, just one video layer, couple audio layers here. This is primarily sound effects. This was the song I originally used, which I don't even need anymore. And this is all the raw camera audio, which actually I'll keep it for now. I might use it and reference it later. The adjustment clips, when I shot this, I obviously shot it in 4K at DCI, which is what my Sony FX3 shoots in, but I wanted to go for more of the anamorphic and stretched look. So these adjustment clips are just accounting for the stretch right there, you can see on the sides. So I actually want to go backwards. I want to start with sound design because I think that was more work in the video. The color, I kind of already knew what I wanted it to look like in my head. So let's just break everything down really quick. The first thing you'll see here is the song that we chose. I just deleted one recently. That was a piano song that I found. I sent it to Nat. She didn't love it, so we ended up switching it over to strings. And this is from Epidemic Sound. Title is Once I Loved a Boy. Right, so just a big symphony. You can see here the song is actually not long enough to meet the requirement for the video. So what I did was just copy a larger section. The way that orchestrals typically move is they have the very classic rising and falling motion, much like an ocean wave. So you can see right here the song dips down, and I wanted to bring it back up, and then it's going to end right there. So let me zoom in a bit. Yep, you can see it crashes and goes back up and then goes down. So this is kind of how it ends. So drops, comes up. And it ends. So that's music in a nutshell. Very, very simple. Then I wanted to go for location-based sounds. So Foley, but more specifically, ambience and background noise. So in the fields, you'll hear a ton of this gusting, blowing wind, as well as some animal sounds right here. Hear the wind tuck down a little bit because it's way more calm. It's more like cicadas and bugs and all that. We also go into the woods here where there is really no breeze at all. That's right here. Right, so that heavy wind is gone, but you still have some animals and critters and all that stuff in the woods. And then near the end for this little water scene, very, very peaceful, very, very calm. Definitely sounds like something near a river or a lake, anything like that. Lastly was the actual Foley and practicals. I won't go through all of these because there are a lot. The main thing I think people noticed here were the page turns and all the smaller sounds like this. Now, one thing you'll notice, I tend to time these and go frame by frame when I do it to make sure I line it up properly. You'll even see right there and here how it lines up. Same thing with the wine being poured. I actually line this up to see the sound effect starting right when you see that first red patch of wine. It's a very small detail, but it's just enough to make your sound design that much more accurate. So let's take a listen. Page goes down. You can hear it come up and then back down. She uses her pinky to put it down right there. Arguably the hardest thing to do, and I should have planned this better, this is totally my fault, were the steps. So when you're doing footsteps, the main thing you need to think of is how a person is moving, because you could just let footsteps go underneath them the whole time, but it's not going to be realistic because obviously their pace isn't going to be the way that you found a recorded sound effect. So you have to take that and cut it up. So I did my best with it. I also was okay with this not being perfect in hindsight. I knew the music was going to cover a lot. This sounds super loud now, but later it's way different. So you can kind of see the way that her body moves with it is how I place the sound effect. It's like that push in, step down, push in, pick up. Now again, in solo, this sounds awful because you can tell it's all chopped up and it's just very, very fake. But when you put it all together with the music, which is obviously doing most of the heavy lifting, so as far as sound design goes, that's pretty much it. You have music, you have location or ambient sounds. You can typically double up on that, give or take, and then the actual close sound effects or the Foley. All right, so now we're gonna jump into what most people ask me about when they see my work, and that's color. Now, again, I'm gonna say this 100,000 times, I am not a pro colorist. I wouldn't even say I'm a colorist. I would just say I understand enough color theory to get by. So this is certainly not gonna be an in-depth look at color. This is just gonna be how I would approach a project like this. If you guys would be interested in more like color science and kind of the breakdown of color, the theory of color, let me know, and maybe I'll make a video about it. All right, so we're here in DaVinci's color tab, and this node structure that I have set up here on the right, if you are not using DaVinci, if you're using something like Premiere or Final Cut, you'll probably go in a more linear fashion where you just go line by line or layer by layer. With DaVinci, nodes are a lot more powerful. You can use them in a layered fashion, but again, you can do this. What I'm about to show you, you can do almost all of this in any other program. I'm just here to give you principles that you can go apply later on. The program does not matter. We're about principles here. I would say I use this in about 90% of my work. So I'm gonna just break all these down really quick and we'll be good to go. This is what our final image looks like here. Make that full screen. You can see the blue is very, very nice. Skin tone looks natural and even. The greens are definitely greening. The path looks great. Everything looks organic here, and that's what I wanted to go for. To achieve this look, I am gonna shut all of my nodes off here and we're gonna build it one at a time. So the first thing that we need to do is get our footage from RAW or log, in my case S-Log because I shoot on a Sony, and we need to get it to what is called Rec 709. Now, I said I wasn't gonna do any color theory here. I'm gonna explain a very little bit just to get you started, and again, I can make a deeper video about this later. When you shoot in a log profile, your footage clearly here looks very, very flat and very unappealing. The reason for that though is because when you go back to edit it later, you actually have more control. You have more control in your shadows, your highlights, the color, skin tone. Shooting in log gives you more control. A great analogy to think about log is you go to a grocery store and you buy a bunch of ingredients. Now, the upside is you can make whatever you want with those ingredients. The downside is that you have to make dinner. You have to make the recipe, right? As opposed to if you get one of those pre-packaged meals. A pre-packaged meal is more like when you shoot on your camera's standard color profile. So everything is already done for you. It usually looks pretty good, but again, the problem is that you don't have a lot of control over it in post. Most professional videographers want as much control as possible to make their image look as pleasing as possible in the edit. What we need to do is get our footage from log or flat to colored. We need to get it to a standard color space. We call this, or the most common color space that you'll hear folks talk about on, say, social media and even just general videography is called Rec 709. Don't worry about what that means. It's not gonna do anything for you. But here's another simple analogy to think of going from log to Rec 709, or if the camera's flipped, log to Rec 709. There we go. Here's another really easy way to think about getting from log to Rec 709. Think of log as a language that you don't speak, and think about getting it to Rec 709 as understanding it in English. When we look at this, we would never see an image like this on television or cinema or even Instagram. And the reason for that is because it doesn't look right. We don't really understand what this is. Now, of course, cameras are really good and I'm being a little facetious with it, but my point is that we need to communicate to our footage here, hey, I don't really get what this is, log, I need it to look like this, which is Rec 709, or a standard color space. I need to get from, German to English. I need to understand what I'm looking at here. I need to understand what my colors look like, what my exposure looks like, and until then, I can't work on the footage. So that's why we convert footage from log to Rec 709. But that's also why we shoot in log, so we have more control later. So the first thing we're gonna do really easy is convert our footage from log to Rec 709. And there we go. This is a LUT that I use all the time. These are called phantom LUTs. They are probably, if not the best conversion LUTs in the game. Again, conversion LUT meaning we're just trying to get from log to Rec 709. We're converting from this to that. German to English, raw ingredients to a meal. I hope you guys get it at this point. So here's my node structure. We start with exposure, then white balance, saturation, skin tone, and color, Rec 709 conversion, some extra look LUTs, and then a film look creator. So the first thing we're gonna do is convert our log footage to Rec 709. Boom, just like that. So in my exposure node, you can see I'm doing a couple things here. The first thing is I'm just adding a touch of contrast. That's what it looks like before. That's what it looks like after. I'm just trying to get a touch more out of the shadows and the black point, as well as the highlights in the white. Then I personally like to bring the mids and the details down in DaVinci a bit. This is all the way down. This is all the way up. It does a lot of sharpening in the mids. I like to bring it down primarily because the lens that I shoot on and also with my camera, it's a little on the digital side. It looks a little sharp. This just helps me soften my image up a little bit. And then in my HDR wheels, I brought the global exposure down by 0.10. So that's before, and that's after. Next up is white balance. When I look at this image, it looks pretty cold. It definitely is not getting the nice golden hour sun that we were planning for. I'm gonna make this image a little bit warmer. You can see right down here with temperature, I'm gonna go up 150 and I'm gonna bring the tint down to -5. So this is before and that's after, and I'll even full screen it. So that's before, after. You can see that skin gets a little bit more orange, a little bit warmer, and you can also see the dirt definitely isn't as cold. Very simple adjustments too, very minor adjustments, I should say. Saturation skin, didn't do anything with it in this shot, but I do know that I used it later and I can show you that. Now we're gonna do a base look here. I use these LUTs all the time. These are from Danny G. Probably my favorite filmmaker on YouTube and one of my favorite storytellers. He's a beast. Buddy, please don't eat that cable or you will burn the house down. So this first look is called the Clean LUT. Just really rounds everything out. I can't really explain what it does. I mean, I know what it does. It clearly darkens everything up a little bit and smooths everything out. But it just makes everything look a little bit more tonal. I don't know what it is. I use this, I think, on 99% of what I shoot. It ain't broke, so I'm not trying to fix it. Then this next one is called Warm Nostalgia, and this just, again, darkens everything up a little bit and then warms everything up as well. You can definitely see that in the dress, the grass, and definitely the skin tone too. You can see that's doing a lot. One thing with look LUTs is that I don't usually crank them to 100%. So for example, if I push clean all the way up and then warm all the way up, you can see we have a very, very filmic look, but it's a little too much. I don't love using it for that. So I tend to go anywhere from like 0.2 to 0.4. Now, most of my magic comes from a new plugin here in DaVinci called Film Look Creator. This is kind of their take on a third-party plugin called Dehancer, which is absolutely incredible. But if you don't have the budget for Dehancer or you're just not super interested in using it, you can use Film Look Creator. So there's a lot going on under the hood here. I'm gonna open up my effects panel here and I'm gonna turn it on now and you're gonna see this image really, really come to life. So this is without Film Look Creator, and this is with it. Now, I didn't push it as much as I wanted to, and in hindsight, I think there are things I would have changed. I'm not gonna go through everything Film Look Creator does, because I do wanna make a video about that later, and I might even do a comparison between it as well as Dehancer. But let me just break down kind of what I'm doing in sort of a like 30,000 foot view here. So the first thing I'm doing with Film Look Creator is I'm giving this an actual film look. So in DaVinci, they give you 5 options here. Cinematic, I'm gonna turn it all the way up here really quick so you can see what it's doing. So there's Cinematic, Rochester, Akasaka, Elated, and then Classic Vintage. So Film Look blends are just blending in film stock. You can see that I stuck with the standard Cinematic. This is it all the way up. Definitely does a lot to the skin I don't love. So I'm gonna bring it back down to 0.2 where I had it. That's without, that's with. Without, with. It's very, very subtle here. I like moves to be subtle. Color settings, these are affecting, these are kind of like your primaries, which we already did. So I just brought the exposure back down because I wanted it to be moody. I really like the contrast in Film Look Creator. It's very, very nice looking. One thing I probably would have done differently, now that I'm looking back at the footage, I think I would have pushed it a little bit more. I probably would have gone to about like there. Yeah, 1.5. I kind of love how that looks versus what's the standard? 1.25. Yeah, that's what I landed on, and I probably would have done that. Well, we learned, that's what I'm saying. Highlights, I dropped a bit, added a little bit of like a film fade. It just kind of makes your shadows a little bit like creamier, milkier, a little bit more grayscale. I think I had those dialed in at like 0.3. I left white balance and tint alone. I love the subtractive saturation inside of Film Look Creator. It looks super, super organic. That's obviously pushing it all the way. But as I look at mine, I kind of wish I pushed it more as well. I kind of would have gone for about like, maybe about there, like 1.6, maybe 1.7. Yeah, that's what I would have done. Again, we live and we learn. Next thing is vignetting. Just gives you that classic dark circle to focus in on your subject. You can see the before and after there. Then we have halation. So halation is something that happens in film where you get that really nice red, orange hue around highlights and around the edges of your subject. This tends to soften your image up a lot. If I were to take highlights only off and then really push it, you can start to see that golden glow right there, but that's pretty extreme, so we're not gonna go for that. We're gonna set this back to what I had it, which I know is 0.4. And you can see very, very trace amounts it on like Matt's shoulder, and so on and so forth. And again, this changes from shot to shot and exposure to exposure as well. I don't use a ton of bloom here, but bloom essentially just blooms your highlights. It makes everything look softer. You can see I'm really not getting much of it here. To be fair, I copied this look and then pasted it across all of my shots, which you'll see in a quick second. And then last but certainly not least, we have the classic film grain. These actually look really, really good in DaVinci. I'll punch in a little bit here. They're definitely on the strong side, but they do look really, really nice. And that's what I did for that one. I kind of made like a custom one, which is like kind of close to a 65mm, which is a little more modern, but that is the look in a nutshell, y'all. That is the entire thing. Now, of course, you go from shot to shot and there are things you're gonna have to check for, like your exposure or your white balance or whatever else. Not all shots were done equally. For example, this shot right here, typically some of my shots are at 150. You can see in this shot that's still too cold, so I went to 300. I didn't do anything with the skin in some other shots, but then in this one, you can see that I did. So the goal is just to go through every shot and try to get it as close as you can. To close out on our closing shot, we just had Nat walk over to her blanket, and you can see that text just comes in when the song picks up. Right there. And even now, looking at this shot, right, this last closing shot, I'm curious now, let's just do it for fun. Let's just open this up. Let's like push our contrast, like I said, to 1.5. Maybe bring the subtractive EQ up, or EQ, I'm thinking sound, audio. 1.2, let's like push it a little bit, yeah. See, I really like how that looks. That's what I landed on, which still looks okay, but it looks a little washed out. And that's kind of what I might have changed it to. I think skin's a little much there. Maybe I would like back that off a bit. This is interesting. I don't mind the faded look, but I kind of like the high contrast look there too. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really know. Well, this was interesting. This is definitely making me question every single decision that I've ever made. So there you guys have it. That's Worlds Beyond Words. I keep saying it, and I think I keep getting the title wrong. What's the name of this video? So there you have it, Worlds Beyond Words, featuring Natalie Cruz. We had an absolute blast doing this, and it's pretty cool to go back and see maybe what I would have done differently. I want to show you guys this because some videos you are going to put a crazy amount of work into, whether it's for a client or for yourself, but other times it's fun to just get out there and shoot and make something. And so I hope as I broke this down for you, you feel inspired to go shoot and just have some fun, make a video, put it on YouTube. Don't worry about the views, don't worry about comments, don't worry about likes and subscribe and all that stuff, right? There's more than enough of that to go around, so don't worry about it. Just use this as an opportunity to go back, to learn, to grow, because I bet you in a year, I'm gonna come back and look at these projects and realize I did not do a single thing correctly, but that's okay because I learned, I'm growing, and I'm having a good time doing it. At the end of the day, I think so many artists are losing sight of that, where we are making videos for money or obviously just because we're writing songs just because they sound popular or they, again, might make us money. They can, make you go on tour or whatever the heck. I don't want it to be like that. I remember picking up my first camera and I just loved shooting short films with my friends in high school. We did a bunch of like war reenactments and sketch comedy, and we learned how to do like effects and After Effects, and we did rendering in like Blender and animation, and it was just so much fun. And I'm going back to a video like this and there's so much I could have done better. Like I sent feedback to my friends and they told me I broke the 180 rule a lot. I'll go over that another time, I just didn't do it here, but I could have done better with that in this video. And I clearly just saw my color grade could have been better and all that stuff, right? But the point is that I had fun doing this, and I know Nat had an absolute blast, and I learned from it, and I'm gonna get better. And so my encouragement to you would be the exact same thing. Go shoot because you wanna be better. Go shoot because you love doing this. Because I'll tell you what, if you love it, you'll look back in a month, in a year, in 10 years, and you'll realize your love for what you're doing is what got you better. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.